I've been collecting Pops for about 10 years now, and over that time, I've collected a lot of pieces that are throughout the actual assembly of creating these figures. And so I thought it'd be fun to tell you about how they're actually made, as well as showing off some cool pieces I've got in my collection. And so let's get started with step one, the idea phase. This is where Funko designers and creators will come together to actually try to come up with some new ideas for figures. I don't actually work at Funko, but I've been to their offices before, and so when you walk around, you'll notice there is a lot of just like random whiteboards and like bulletin boards with different things they're thinking about making. Some of them will probably never go out of the idea phase, but I think it is so cool to see what they're actually like brainstorming. And now I don't think I can tell you any of the things that I saw while I was there that haven't released, but one thing that I did see while I was there, which was really cool, when I was walking by somebody's desk, I actually saw the digital set for the Mickey and Friends characters, which have now been released for a while, but it is still so cool that I got to see somebody just like working on it while I was there. But after ideas, we then get concepts. Once they're done with brainstorming all of these things, they actually want to turn them into what could be a Funko Pop in the future. I'm sure this has to do with them coming up with like how would they make a bigger head for these characters, or if they don't really have a head, for example like the Coke can, how would that happen? It might even just be them trying to come up with different characters that they would want to do for a line. Like if they were to do the Lion King, they want to do Zazu, they want to do Simba, they've got to do Nala, they're picking out their favorites. And I think that that is such a cool thing that they get to do. Like I would love to sit in on people trying to come up with like which characters they need to make for a specific franchise. But before they go any farther than that, they need to get the license for these characters, which means they're gonna have to talk to Warner Brothers, Hasbro, Disney, whoever actually owns this intellectual property. And I'm sure that is where a lot of the characters just don't happen because the licensor says no, or maybe they want you to tweak something and it doesn't work as a pop. Like seriously, I would love to know some of the characters that have just never happened because some company was just like, no, we're not doing it. And now after these figures have been approved by licensors, and so that means we are good to go on all of these characters, Funko designers then have to sketch what these are gonna look like. A great example of this is actually Reese O'Brien, who is a designer that used to work at Funko, and a little while ago he put up a bunch of his original designs that a lot of them got turned into Pops online for people to buy. I wasn't lucky enough to pick up one of those because they sold out really quickly, but I can at least show you what some of them looked like, and it really is crazy how he was able to turn this into a Pop. And now around this time in the process, we have the first thing that I want to show you, and it's actually a Funko catalog that you used to be able to get when you go to Toy Fair. Sadly, they don't do these anymore, but I used to love picking them up. I wasn't able to go to Toy Fair every year because of course it's expensive to fly to New York, but when I first started collecting, I would order them on eBay after for like about 40 to 50 bucks, and this one I actually got to pick up in person, and what's really cool is you may have noticed a signature on the front. This was actually the CEO at the time, Brian Mariotti. And now the reason that I'm showing you this is because a lot of the characters inside of here are just concepts that actually haven't been approved by the licensor, and I want to see if I can find one of those just to show you what I'm talking about because it really is interesting to see. Okay everybody, I've got a good page here and you can take a look. So there's a lot of musicians as well as the office down at the bottom here, and if you'll notice, way down at the very bottom, I'm trying to see if it's in camera. Yeah, there we go. Way down at the very bottom, it says something along the lines of like, subject to licensor's approval. And so that means something in these figures might have changed before they actually released for us to pick up in stores. Like I know one for a fact is actually Offset from Migos up here in the corner. If you'll notice, in his hand, he actually has a cup, but when it released, it didn't have that anymore. And so anyways, just a really cool thing that Funko used to do, and it's fun to look back at because it's almost like, you know, the history of these characters. After that, though, everybody, once the sketches are done, and they've kind of got, you know, a good idea of what it's gonna look like, the proportions, because of course Funko Pops have big heads, it then goes into 3D modeling. This is where it's gonna start off pretty simple and then slowly work its way up to being that final version that we're gonna turn into an actual prototype. I love seeing the 3D modeling step for a lot of these characters because it really is just so gray and simple, and it's kind of fun to see them like slowly add more detail as they go on, making it that final version. Then once they're done 3D modeling, it goes into another licensor approval because of course they need to make sure that everything on this figure is perfect. Maybe Luke Skywalker needs a slightly different hilt for his lightsaber because it's not exactly how it looks in the movie, or for example Superman's cape should should be a little bit different. It's those types of things that they are definitely looking for. And once those are complete and everything looks good, they then go into the first prototyping phase. And this, everybody, is where we get into my second show and tell of the day, because we have some of those original prototypes. These here are things that Funko would actually give out at different events. And what I love about them here is that it just goes to show, like, it's very similar to what the figure would look like when it releases, but it's sometimes not exactly the same. If you guys don't know, this one here is actually Boober from Fraggle Rock, and I am a big fan of a lot of the Jim Henson productions. And when it comes to this prototype here, it's a little bit of a weird color, because with a lot of the newer ones, it's kind of this flat white, but it seems like they used actually a different material than they were gonna use when the figure was actually complete. And now, everyone, this other prototype that I have here is probably one of my favorites in my collection, because it is Mr. DNA from, of course, Jurassic Park. The reason why I love it so much is because the head is translucent, so of course it still has that translucent piece on the prototype, and you can see it's a bit of a weird one because he's got the base, and also there is like little scuffs on it, which I actually got it like that because, of course, when they're at the factory or messing around, probably in the actual offices, they're probably tossing these around, giving them to a bunch of people to see if this is actually what they want it to look like. And so honestly, having these prototypes in the collection is such a cool, like, kind of like inside look into what is actually going on over at the Funko factory as well as offices. But now hold on, everybody, that's not all that I have for prototyping, because this isn't where it ends. I actually happen to have two more prototypes right here that are both Star Wars, and the reason that they look a little bit different is because this is after the actual mold is good to go. They then need to test out the colors. And now the reason they do this is to save on a lot of paint, because if they can make the actual bottom of the mold that main color, they don't have to paint the entirety of Luke Skywalker's hair brown or, you know, Boba Fett's helmet blue. They can just add these smaller accents, like maybe the eyes or the mouth or a little bit of a beard touch-up. And now also, something that I love about this Luke Skywalker prototype is that because the hand is connected to the lightsaber, you can see they did the entire thing in that kind of like translucent blue, including his hand and sleeve, which was definitely painted over after, but I would love to know if the one that actually released in stores also has that blue hand underneath the paint. And then when it comes to this Boba Fett here, I am just such a big fan of it. I love how he is like floating in the air. There is just so much going on with this one. It's honestly one of my favorites for the colored versions because there's so many colors, and the fact that he's like way different than like a regular standing figure. And so a bit of a recap on prototyping, guys. It starts here with the white colors to make sure that the mold looks all right and that everything is good to go, and then it moves on to the colors, and then of course we've got another thing that we have to work on. And now something that I couldn't find out much information on is the inserts that they actually have the figures kind of floating in inside of their cardboard. I'm guessing it's probably just like such a simple step that they don't bother, you know, talking about it too much, because like it really is just this here to like hold it in place, and they probably just somehow mold it to what the body is going to be similar to. But anyways, everybody, I grabbed my Mothman here because I wanted to show you what this box looks like, because it really is cool, and I'll even fold it down for you to show you what exactly it looks like, because it is kind of interesting. You can see here it's got all of the different designs, and somebody at Funko actually has to create these assets for the boxes, and like it always has the text on the side here, and then of course it's got the glam shots up at the top. And oh, actually I haven't explained what a glam shot is. Now that I think about it, I probably should. It's those photos that you see on Funko's website of the characters, and they used to be 2D on the boxes, but now as of more recently they've made them 3D, so it's a little bit different, but just like nice and updated. And so anyways, everybody, these boxes here really are cool, and honestly some of my favorite parts of the collectibles, because you can see how much time and effort they actually put into these. Like, take a look on the back here. They have an entire blurb all about who Mothman is. And so there we go, everybody. The figure is back in the box, perfect as ever. But now that's not where it's going to end for the boxes, because I have something crazy that just came in the mail the other day. Gotta move this off to the side because we need as much room as I can possibly get for this one. Now, this is something that I had never seen before, and I actually won it at an auction. I don't know if you guys are ready for this because it really is crazy. I had never seen one of these before, and it has to do with the actual packaging of the Pops. Alright, everybody, here we go. Let's see what this thing is looking like, because I haven't even seen it in person yet. This is going to be so interesting to check out. Oh my gosh. This is really insane. If you guys don't know what I have here, this is an uncut Funko Pop box. So like before they actually fold it into the shape that it would be, once you know you actually glue it together and put the figure inside, this is what it would look like in the factory. How crazy is this? And if you guys are wondering, this is the original Spock, of course, and I think I paid like about 150 bucks for this, which I honestly didn't think was that bad considering I've never seen one of these before. I'm definitely gonna have to get this framed eventually just because I really do want to keep this nice in the collection. And also, if you want to check out the back side, it is the exact same material as a real Funko Pop box. I think that is so cool, and it even tells you up here. I'm pretty sure that is the exact date this actual box was created. It's honestly just such a crazy thing to have in the collection, and so I'm so excited that I was able to show it to you guys today because, I mean, come on, where have you ever seen one of these before? And now that the box is complete, this is the time where the final packaging happens, and the actual licensor will get one more approval to make sure everything looks perfect. These are called pre-production figures. They just make a couple of them to make sure that everything is in tip-top shape. And well, I happen to have one of those here today that we're going to be checking out. When I was over at Comic-Con in New York, I actually visited the VaynerMedia offices, and while I was there, I talked to a lot of the guys from the Gary V team, and so they were nice enough to gift me this one here, the first ever we have Jolly Jacko, one of their own characters. If you have this figure in your collection, you would know that there's actually a sticker on the front, but because it's a pre-production one, mine does not have that. And so everybody, of course, we've got to open this up and check it out together because it really is a cool one. Like, all of the paint on this thing is perfect. I am such a big fan of it. If you want to check it out all the way around, it is just like a completed Funko Pop. Like, it looks like something that you would just pick up off of the shelf if you were to go to the store. But because it is one of those first ones, it really is neat. Because also, like I said, it doesn't have that sticker. So that's kind of like the only way I can tell the two apart. Because I have one that I actually got over at New York Comic Con for my collection, and I got this one right before that. So it's a little bit tough when I'm like, okay, hold on, which one doesn't have the sticker? You gotta make sure. Actually, funny enough, it is a figure that's pretty much always in my background. It goes right about there, and I didn't fill the hole, so you'll probably see it in the background if you ever watch any of my other videos. And so anyways, once these pre-production figures have been approved and they are good to go, they will finally put it into, well, production. And that apparently takes a long time because these figures need to be shipped practically across the world. And they don't fly these things, they actually boat them all the way to North America, which I think is crazy. Like, just imagine, everybody, there is a boat in the ocean somewhere with like 100,000 Mr. Peanuts on it. I just think that is so funny. And anyways, once it actually makes it to us, then they will be shipped out to all of the stores for us to actually get it in hand. And that is not where we're ending yet. Because you know the prototypes that we took a look at earlier? Well, in my collection, I actually have two of the completed figures. We have Mr. DNA, which is just so amazing, as well as that Boober with Doozer. Like, come on, they're great. And you know what? Really quickly, I kind of want to take this Boober out so we can see the two of them together again, because I think that they are pretty much exactly the same, but you'll notice that they are those completely different colors because this is like the first version of the prototype, when this one is, of course, well, something I just picked up at GameStop. Honestly, I haven't taken these out in a long time and put them close together, so I think it is really, really cool to see them like this. And now, since we took out Boober, I had to take out Mr. DNA too. If you guys want to see the two of them together, there they are. I love checking these out, especially with the way they were able to get the colors inside of the head when this one over here is just white. And I'm guessing that's probably what the color would be for the entire thing then, because here I can't tell. This is, of course, when they just had no colors, but I'm guessing the entire body would have to be that kind of like purpley pink color. And well, anyways, everybody, there we go. That is how a Funko Pop is created. I hope you guys enjoyed, because it took me a little while to get all of this together. It was totally worth it because now we can look back on this video forever. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I guess I'll see you tomorrow.